Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
One British racetrack that winds its way through the English countryside to another. We move across the opposite side of the country. From the northwest now to the north, and from Alton Park across to Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire, the Nürburgring of the north, and it's the setting for rounds 10, 11th and 12th, the fourth event of the season for the 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter eSports Series. It's tight, it's twisty, it's compact, and it's a shorter field and smaller field than we had previous rounds, but that's not necessarily a bad thing considering how the circuit can be a real test. There's not many places to overtake, it is quite a tricky circuit to get right, and there's no room and hardly any margin for error because the barriers are waiting. And hopefully for some drivers they will not keep bouncing off the barriers, they'll be taking points towards the battle for the championship and move forward with just 2 events to go. Good evening everybody, Scott Woodwist once again guiding you through all of the action tonight. Aidan Howard, who's on production for cameras tonight, and we have touchdown at Cadwell Park for the next instalment of this Clapham North BRSCC Winter Esports Series. Everyone competing in the much loved 4th generation Mazda MX-5 Global Cup car. And after an event at Alton Park that saw us both racing in rain and shine, and victories before, including a first win for BRSCC staff member Marcus Hesketh in the pouring rain, we now move to much sunnier conditions at 19 degrees. There's 30% chance humidity, clear skies around, but a 14-kilometre wind in this mixture, and around this 3.5 kilometre circuit. It's going to be quite a spectacle for everyone to enjoy. So after 3 events coming into the event, it's now Matt Kendall on 597 points. He holds an 8-point lead over Jeff Richardson in second place, with Trafford King in third. Harrison Leach in 4th position, ahead of Isaac Doble in P5. Thomas Merritt, Tom Griffiths, Jack Ashton, Chris Etheridge and Benji Douglas rounding out the top 10. Now there are a few front runners that are not taking part tonight, either because they have commitments or possibly because they didn't want to risk it too much around a circuit that's tight and twisty like Cadwell Park. They can use a drop score, so 3 drop rounds allow them to miss out if they need to. It will allow some drivers to possibly take a bit more of a step forwards for those who are not here. Looking at the drivers who are in the qualifying session, I can't see that Isaac Doble is here, but I can see the likes of Matt Kendall is here. Jeff Richardson is not here tonight on that one, but the likes of Tom Griffiths, Jack Ashton, Chris Etheridge and others are. And also coming back after missing Alton Park is Will Blackwell-Chambers, who is last year's Mazda MX-5 Pro Class champion in real life and now moving into the Fun Cup Endurance Championship in 2026. There is Will, and second fastest, making it an all Clapham North sponsored MX-5 front row in qualifying with roughly just over 2 minutes to go. And it is championship leader Matt Kendall who is fastest in the session, 1 minute 33.148. He's ahead by just a fraction over 3.5 tenths on pole position, but it's quite close behind on the rest of the battle for the top 5. Blackwell-Chambers second fastest Matt on his current qualifying lap. Thomas Merritt, who's a Fiesta Junior graduate, is third fastest from Jack Ashton, the defending Hickford Construction MG Metro Cup champion in real life. And then Harrison Leach, who's rounding off the top 5, just ahead of Traffic King in P6, and one of his best events of the season so far last time out. Looking to try and build on that. So far, I have to do so coming from the third row. Ricky Douglas, 7th fastest, Ben Williams, 8th quickest. And Martin Bradley in the highest placed Bromley Motorsport car is 9th quickest. And a welcome return back to John Pethick as well, who's been a regular in MX-5 racing the last few seasons, but back in the eSport server once more. And his usual blue MX-5 with the white offset racing stripe, he is currently 10th quickest. The final few laps coming in the session. Anyone who's starting a lap now will be allowed to finish it. There is Ben Williams. You can see in his little profile picture, the livery is very much akin to that of his Metro Cup car that he races in real life, including the orange wing mirrors, the all kind of British racing green livery. And I think because he can't have a white roof, he's got a white boot lid instead. One of our roll bar cameras you can get here. It's also a very, very old school kind of onboard camera like you'd find in BTCC back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. The cameras they had, you look right to the centre, so you can't see the driver, but you can, in terms of his helmet, but you can see his hands over the crest. This circuit, Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire, has very rarely been touched by modifications, if at all. In fact, it used to be a much shorter circuit, but it was expanded quite a long time ago. See a few climbing sectors here coming through some laps. Looking here at Jamie Peters-Ennis, who is the Fun Cup reporter. And he's also quite a keen sim racer in himself. The livery he's got is a tribute to the early 90s Mazda Works livery that they ran in the IMSA when they ran the RX-7, but it's also the likes of Oliver Allwood, and I can't remember his name now, Thomas Langford, both drove exactly the same car in exactly the same livery. In fact, it was Ollie Allwood's car first. He won the championship, then Thomas Langford, and that's that one to look out for further back in the field, starting 17th. So as they start to line up for race 1 of 3 tonight here at Cadwell Park, this is the grid. Matt Kendall and Will Blackwell-Chambers make it an all Clapham North front row. Thomas Merritt comes next on the second row of the grid, followed by Jack Ashton in P2. And then it is on the second row of the grid. And then it will now be Jack Ashton on the second row, then Harrison Leach and Traffic King on row 3, from Benji Douglas and Ben Williams on row 4. Liam Martin Bradley and John Pethick round off the top 10 from Toby Campbell and Tom Griffiths on the 6th row. 7th row is Thomas Potter and Rob McGregor from James Seal and Arash Madhu. Then Jamie Peters-Ennis and Aaron Beattie are on the 9th row, ahead of Alex Corkwell and Alex Catlow, completing the top 20. Then Mitch Marie, Adam Lyle and Martin Corkwell complete the 23-car field tonight. Smaller than before. I don't think that's a bad thing, because it's going to be quite a circuit to try and get around. Overtaking's not going to be as prominent as other places, but it will certainly be interesting to see how the smaller field gets on. So, racing all set to get underway then here at Cadwell Park. The 5 lights come on, and for race 10 of the season here in the Winter eSports Series of 2026 for BRSCC, green flag in the air, and we are underway and racing. Good clean start from the first few leaders, up towards the left-hander at Coppers for the first time, and towards Charlie's, the double apex right-hander. It is going to be Kendall who leads it. Merritt had a look up the inside for second place, Blackwell-Chambers, but there wasn't quite enough room as they go out of there and up now Park Straight towards Park Corner for the first time, and there's contact further back. 2 or 3 cars are spinning, one of which is Traffic King. Oh boys, it's been corners Already there's one or two of them off. James Sealer's another one going tumbling down. Thomas Potter's another. Also I can see Arash Madhu's involved. Several cars, and they've barely made it to turns 2 and 3. Williams has got damage on the front of his car, so he's also been in strife. Somebody else has been a bit wayward further back as well. Where did it all go wrong? Another car's off on there as well. That's another car in the foreground that's will hit the barriers. That is Alex Corkwell. So barely half the field. In fact, 5 or 6 cars have been involved in incidents. So I can see Corkwell, Potter, McGregor, Williams, Sealer, Madhu, and Trafford King was involved in incidents. So too is Alex Cadwell. There's black flags also for Mitch Marie and Martin Corkwell. That is quite a disappointing and chaotic first lap. They haven't even got around half of it yet. It's still a Clapham North 1-2 with Hendel ahead of Blackwall Chambers as they go through the Hall Bends for the first time. Out through the follow a couple of corners. Number 1, it's Kendall from Blackwall Chambers. Merritt in 3rd position, Leach is 4th, Ashton 5th, and Martin Bradley in P6. It's Griffiths, Pethick, Peters Ennis, deep rounding off the top 10. In the back straight for the second time. 0.6 of a second gap. Well, you can see what happened on the open. Focus on Benji Douglas initially. We'll see how this all played out. So going through the right-hander, Douglas, there was just contact with Trafford King around he went, and as Douglas tried to recover, he left cars scattering all behind him as he rejoined. And yeah, there's more contact on the bit. That was Arash Madhu who just came to the side of somebody as he rejoined on that one. And there's more cars in front had hit trouble. He had to try and take to the grass. And the other also went off in front of Ben Williams, bumped into somebody else in front of him, so he couldn't even steer or turn into the right-hander. Because of that, he sort of suffered, and several cars had their races severely compromised before it barely even started. The ball bends for the second time. On the inside, it's a breakaway 5, but there's a bit of a hole in the field now between top 5 and back to 6th position, Liam Martin Bradley. Long down. Pit lane. It's not really a proper pit lane because the cars coming out of the pits right at the leaders route, I have to say. There's Rob McGregor, and the other one I think is Thomas Potter behind him. Those two cars that are down in 20th and 21st. Mitch Marie's also had to have an issue, and he's dropped back from what was 16th. Jack Ashton in the purple and black X5 in P5 towards the top of the circuit at Park Corner. Long, never-ending right-hander of Chris Curve as they arc their way around. You get the very tricky right-left as you plunge down the hill through the gooseneck. It's very sharp drop down towards Mansfield. It'll really test your brakes. You're braking early. The momentum of the hill means you've got to really stand on the brakes to slow down as much as possible towards Mountain, which is one of the most spectacular parts on this, particularly if you're a lightweight car or has it just right with enough speed. You can and do some air. A case in point for Blackwall Chambers have. Yeah. Like championship. Coming away. It's got 3 much signal. But how about the to come onto the back straight once again. Here comes Merrick now, looking for the toe, looking to try to go back to the outside line. Back down again towards part up of the straight, but also getting involved now is Harrison Leach. Side by side for second, and Merritt's daring to go round the outside at Park Corner. Whichever stands his ground and does in fact make contact off onto the ground because Merritt, I think Merritt tried to turn into the apex with the assumption that Blackwall Chambers wasn't going to have at least a third of his car still alongside. And that's, in fact, now dropped back behind into 5th position. In fact, dropped back to the head of the second group. His task now is to try and bring Liam Martin Bradley and co behind him forwards in this race, try and make more progress. Eric now is quite far back. Got some, what's that, 3.5 seconds to make up. Has got this group of cars, which if Martin Bradley and Griffiths, Pethick, Cadwell and co can start to put a bit close with him, there's a chance that he might well start to bring him forward and make the lead group even bigger. Having said that, it's just moments into that prediction, you can see the gap that Merritt is already trying to visibly create between himself and Martin Bradley. A little wide on the exit of Barn Corner. Keeps his foot in. Leaders come across the line separated by 1.9 seconds. Ashton's fallen back a little bit. He's 1.1 seconds off of third. He comes near Martin Bradley to the inside of Thomas Merritt. So Merritt's not exactly going to have the momentum to catch up, and he's now going to try and stick it out. But that was a really classy move from Martin Bradley into the inside line for Coppice, then took the outside line, holding firm at Charlie's. That now gives him a good run up the hill to lead towards Park Corner, but he goes from Hunter to Hunted because this gives Merritt the chance to try and slip to the outside line. Now, he did this before with Blackwall Chambers a lap ago. Did work. He's thinking about the up and under this time, but he's not far enough alongside on the undercut to make that move. And now you can see Tom Griffiths in the white and blue car, number 18, just arrived onto the tail of Thomas Merritt. And back through the gooseneck. And plunge downhill. This very sharp drop. Standing on the brakes and turning through the apex at Mansfield. Up through the gears again. Merritt's going back on the attack, but Martin Bradley throws the block. He's going to go right to the inside line, and there was a tiny tap in the tail. Not enough to unsettle the Bromley Motorsport driver. They fly over the hill on the crest at the mountain. Through the hall bends, nose to tail. Martin Bradley, then Merritt, Griffiths and Pethick all together. This is over 5th position and backwards, but this is Thomas Merritt in a position that he doesn't really want to be in. He wants to try and catch up to the top 4 in front. But he just got past half distance because 8 minutes is on the clock, 7 minutes to go. Leaders are still separated by a second between Kendall, Blackwell, Chambers and Leach. And there's another 1.2 seconds back to Jack Ashton in 4th position. We're going to look at a replay here of Jack Ashton passing Leach for 3rd, we're going to see here. This is what happened. So Ashton is back here in 4th. And closer to 3rd. That Harrison Leach is having a bit of a connection issue because his car's flicking around a lot. And Ashton's holding on for 4th position and chasing after them. This is back to a battle for 5th that's going on between Eric, Martin Bradley and Griffiths. They've broken away from Pethick. He's made a mistake and dropped back by 4 seconds. So whatever happened to Pethick has seen him back a little bit. I think that's a lapped car behind Tom Griffiths in the background, not the blue and white machine of Pethick. And there he is in the background, just the blue car going through the top of the shot. Right, leading this trio back towards the mountain again. Left and right, it's a really great viewing spot. You get quite a few people, even at club level, sit on, right on the inside of a left-hander before they flick right and then really climb over the crest. So people do sit there. It's a great vantage point because you also get to see the cars the other side of the circuit and the other side of the barrier. It's to the right of the drivers heading towards the first part of that mountain complex. You get to see them, just watch the cars come off the start-finish straight and up on the approach towards Coppice when the lights go out. So you get a really unique view here at Cadwell Park. You get to see both sides of the circuit in one spot. And I will say as well, this circuit, when you particularly get British Superbikes here, which is arguably the biggest, highest profile motorsport championship that still races at Cadwell Park, you get quite a large group, a large crowd of people on that main bank next to the start and finish line, and you get spectators all over the place. Here, all over the place. This is now going through the traffic, and Martin Bradley under threat from Griffiths, and Griffiths made contact, little side to side, rubbing with Griffiths. Now falling into the clutches of James Seal, who is back in 18th. He's got Rob McGregor right behind him. These two are a lap down because of the first lap contact. Even though that Seal might be quicker, Just also realise that anything he gets involved in with Griffiths and co in front, going to be for position, it could disrupt the three-way battle. He's managed to pull away somewhat by a couple of seconds from this duo behind him. With the mountain, he's catching air. The car's getting incredibly light. William Seals landing off the mountain jump didn't quite go as he planned, and now he's falling backwards into Gregor once again as they file their way through the hall bends. Stay watching these cars rock on their suspension as they move from side to side, corner by corner. Yellow flag out, looks like a slowdown penalty for P10, which is Toby Campbell in P10. And also there's Mitch Perry back in 14. As this battle's kind of faded a bit, at Griffiths now keeping the chase upon Liam Martin Bradley. Leaders are now covered by 0.6 of a second, so we need to see Kendall, Blackwell, Chambers and Leach. Here they are. Who's to tail through Chris Curve. Kendall's got a small gap here, and I wonder if Blackwell Chambers is not necessarily attacking Kendall too much. You can just see also, if you look at the bottom of the screen, bottom centre, little camera camera image you can see there, is actually a live camera feed of Will Blackwell Chambers. He's watching him on. BRSCC with his cap on his head as well. Plenty of those over the last few seasons, but he's now putting the pressure onto his teammate. And I did say he's not possibly attacking his teammate. Now I've said that, closing right in, Kendall made a small mistake as he went on the exit of the mountain, a little wide off the right-hander, and now he's closing back in. And brakes. Kendall's car squirming around as he tries to get it stopped. Just about managed that one. Also forgive the fact that Harrison Leach has got a slightly intermittent connection. The car is flickering around, but that is one of the challenges. As Will Blackwell Chambers gives a wave to the camera. So we can see you, Will. Towards this corner they go. Again, right on the tail of his teammate here. And I wonder if this is either just the two cars running in team formation, or if Blackwell Chambers is posturing around the rear bumper of his teammate for a reason, if he's going to try and line up an attack for a second. This is either rear gunner tactics to try and hold off Harrison Leach, or Blackwell Chambers fancies a piece of glory of his own, regardless of who's in front of him. Less than 2 minutes to go. Through the right-hander at Park Corner, back through long arc of Chris Curve. You watch this. Keeping an eye on the rest of the runners. Fourth place still Jack Ashton. Still fifth for Thomas Merritt. He's pulled away by almost 2.5 seconds from the battle between Liam Martin Bradley and Tom Griffiths. And Pethick 8th. Trafford King's climbed back up to 9th after his opening lap contact with Benji Douglas. Speaking of which, he's back there in P10. That's Toby Campbell in 15th place with damage to the front end. All battles going on. We're going to see a replay of how that happened to Toby. How did he lose the front bumper? Going through Coppice, going through Charlie's. He's got Thomas Potter right behind him. And just drops a wheel onto the grass and spits it back the other side. Clatters into the tyres. And that is now the car looking a little less showroom spec, shall we say. He's now in the pit lane. Appears to be second hand, does Aidan, our producer. I'll agree with that one. So, if this, to use an American term, white flag is in the air, on to the last lap of the race, and Kendall now has still a 0.4 of a second advantage over Will Blackwell Chambers, with Harrison Leach in third place. I said there was a point where Will would have possibly attacked to the lead, but given the fact that Kendall in contention for the championship and leading the points, Will is somewhere in the teens, standings-wise. Anticipate that Will is simply just helping his teammate out to allow him to score maximum points in the battle for the championship. Harrison Leach is certainly giving as good as he can in the Owen Mills racing car. This is a little further back temporarily. This is now Tom Griffiths and Martin Bradley arguing over the final spot in the top 6. Him has it. Tom rather fancies it, the way he's glued to the rear bumper of the Bromley Motorsport car. And having a look up the inside, he had a peek towards the gooseneck, but there wasn't any room to get through, so he's going to pressure him, I feel, all the way to the flag to try and steal it with a last gasp move. As they head towards the mountain section, the leads are going to be either going through it or have gone through it already into Hall Bends for the final time. As they rattle over the curves one final time before the flag. Spinning right through the hairpin, up through on corner for the very last time. And George Grant watching this, you're going to get quite a broad smile on your face because your branded cars are going to come through in first and in second place. It's a 1-2 for the Clapham North machines. And more importantly, it is victory for the championship leader. Matt Kendall takes the win in round 10 of the BRSCC Winter eSports Series, sponsored by Clapham North 2026. And fittingly, it is the Clapham North cars first and second. Harrison Leach is third, Ashton fourth, Merritt fifth, and the run to a line in the end. A little wiggle of delight, it is Liam Martin Bradley who just holds off Tom Griffiths a fraction under 0.2 of a second. It's Griffiths in 7th place, Ethic 8th, Trafford King recovering to 9th. That's actually one of the drives of the season, or drive of the night already. Having been facing the wrong way at lap 1, exiting Park Corner after contact with Benji Douglas, recover back to 9th, helped by some drivers having issues in pitting with damage throughout the race. 9th place is quite a strong finish for Trafford King. I have to say, quite impressed by his recovery drive. And P10 for Trafford King. P10 for Benji Douglas. Mitch Marie, Alex Catlow, and Adam Lyle 13th. Jamie Peters takes the top 15 finish ahead of Aaron Beattie. And Ben Williams, Rob McGregor, James Seal, Thomas Potter, Ash Madhu, Toby Campbell, and the Corkwells. The Corkwells barely made it past 3 laps collectively. They the base of the timing screen. Last car to come through and take the flag is going to be Ben Williams, who will pick up 16th place after an eventful run for him. Across the line comes the Metro driver, and he will finish off making a spot just outside the top 15. So, race 1 complete. Remember, the results of race number 1 set the grid for heat 2. Race 2. So the results you're seeing here will also be how they start for race 2. So Kendall and Blackwell Chambers on the front row of the grid with Kendall on pole. Then Harrison Leach and Jack Ashton on the second row of the grid, followed by Merritt and Martin Bradley. Then Griffiths and Pethick, King and Douglas in the top 10. Then Mitch Marie and Alex Catlow from Adam Lyle and Jamie Peters-Ennis. Ben Williams and Aaron Beattie, Rob McGregor and James Seal. And then the last few cars on the grid will be Potter, Campbell, Arash Madhu in the renowned Mazda 787B style livery, and then the 2 Corkwells will prop up the back of the grid. Last but by no means least, 22nd and 23rd, Martin ahead of Alex. So another important win for Matt Kendall, considering he is in the fight for the title. And Blackwell Chambers once again proving he's lost none of his speed, despite a race week off. Still, he's shown that on the pace he's just as quick as Matt, and can, if he gets the chance, the pressure on, which is enough to give him headaches in his role. I'm certain he's playing more rear gunner rather than a headache and a rival. So round 11 of the Winter Esports Series with the 5 red lights on the front row of the grid is the Clapham North pair once again getting off to a clean start. Sweeping across to take third with a bit of a chop across behind Blackwell Chambers is Leach in third. Practically starting back where we left off from race 10 of the season, which is the top 3 most the tail. Is fourth for a fast starting Thomas Merritt. He's already got past Ian Martin Bradley and looking to the outside of Harrison of Jack Ashton as they come out of Charlie's on towards Park Straight for the first time, and Merritt's having a little look around, almost nudging the bumper of Jack Ashton as they climb up the hill. And the approach towards Park Corner for the first time, and Merritt's going on the attack. He does like to go to that outside line and make a move. And I think we've got through a little cleaner this time, but Jamie Peters-Ennis and Toby Campbell have both hit strife. They're towards the back of the field with problems. The rest of the field's come through pretty much trouble-free. Look at the replays, see what happened between those two. The leaders going down towards Mansfield. This is the view from Toby Campbell. Take a look then. So he's quite further back in the pack. And so it's 2 separate incidents. Toby went off into the barriers exiting Poppis, and Jamie Peters-Ennis, I think from what I saw in the foreground, bumped the curb on the inside of Charlie's one corner later, and round he went, and the telltale tyre marks I think suggest that he went off onto the grass. And Toby also touching the grass, which didn't help it either. There'll be a better camera angle that we'll see how this happened for Toby. So he's got the cars behind, and he did get a push from the car behind. It's one of the Corkwells that gave him a nudge. And the car that was in front, I'm going to say is Alex, because Alex is currently ahead of Martin. I don't want to initially pass, so she looks to me what happened. First lap is in the books. and Kendall from Blackwell, Chambers from Leach, so we pick up where we left off from race 10. And Ashton still 4th, Merritt still 5th, so very much the top 10, almost completely as it was from the end of race 1. The difference really is that Benji Douglas has been passed by Mitch Marie, so Mitch is up to 10th, but Douglas down to 11th. That's the top 10, his little fairly status quo. Traffic King's moved up his place from where he finished. Finished race 1 in 9th, up to 8th now, past down towards Mansfield. There's traffic just darting out there to have a look at Griffiths, and he's made the move. I saw the position change on the timing screen before it changed on the screen itself. Position changing here for second place though. Up the inside goes Harrison Leach, slotting in between the two Clapham North cars. But remember, all that fighting's going to do is just give the opportunity to Kendall to continue out in front. On their way back through the Hall Bends for the second time. The brakes. Square right through the hairpin. Back through Barn Corner for the second time. This is the view from Thomas Merritt. Phoenix Sim Racing car, looking at the rear bumper of Jack Ashton. This is the battle for 4th as they come down the straight. Third gear, at the top of the revs, up to 4th. And the approach, high speed through the left-hander, climbing up the hill. Once again through Charlie's. The way this circuit just arcs and bends and meanders its way through the Lincolnshire countryside. It is a circuit that really hasn't been touched hardly at all by modifications. It's one of those great circuits where, ever since it was initially conceived, oh goodness me, there's 2 cars involved, and I think that's both of the motorsport cars, at least 2 of them in fact. One's Rob McGregor with his car completely upside down. There is Alex Corkwell, I think has already been involved in 1 incident already. Thomas Potter was also involved in incident 2. Try and pick this one apart, shall we? So this is now further back. This is Rob McGregor in front of Thomas Potter. Through the right-hander they go. The incident in front happened. That was so Rob McGregor got actually tangled with his teammate. So there was 2 cars in that probably motorsport livery. The one that got tapped around by Alex Corkwell, its position in the middle of the road caught at McGregor. It just got caught at the wrong angle that tipped him into a roll, and thankfully it was a real life car. The roll cage would have stopped him from getting any serious injury, but it is a sim, so simply just extract yourself back to the pits and away you go. Bit of a fast repair going on there, so they'll be working on that before the cars get back out again. Leading group heads down the pit straight once more, up towards the 3rd distance in this second race. Kendall from Leach now by almost a second. The fact that Kendall doesn't have Will as his rear guard at the moment isn't bothering him too much. Harrison's possibly too busy trying to fend off Will, who's trying to retake second place rather than keep his eyes front, but now he's starting to put more focus towards or ahead. He is starting to bring that gap back down again. Was about a second. He's back another 1/4 of a second in this first part of the lap alone. Will Chambers 3rd. This is now further back with Adam Lyle gapping with James Seal, and James gets rather politely elbowed out wide on the exit. Thank you very much. I'll take 13th place if you don't mind, James. And as for a little further front, this is now the second group of cars that we saw battling quite a bit in the first race, and they're now going so again. This is now Liam Martin Bradley with guess who, Tom Griffiths on his bumper. The difference here is that Traffic King's moved up to P6 and trying to break away. So Traffic, of course, remember that's that contact with Benji Douglas at the beginning of race 1. His way back up to 9th. He's now ready from the start of the second race. Worked his way up into the top 6. John Pethick, who has got Mitch Marie and Benji Douglas on his tail. They come out of Barn Corner. And they head down the pit straight once again. Pethick looking quite comfortable. 9th place. Plenty of grass and rubber being kicked up as they sweep through uphill climbs of Coppice, and the way these corners are slightly banked just to help the momentum as you find your way through. The grass in the background for Mitch Marie. That should give Douglas the opportunity he needs to squeeze up the inside. A mistake from Marie gives Douglas the inside line. And in fact, the position, even before they hit the brakes. 4-part corner, it's a few moments later. So that is now Douglas into the top 10. Back with our leaders. They're coming up to put a lap on. So that's Thomas Potter by the look of it, in 19th place after he got caught up in the incident a couple of laps ago. What's interesting is that Kendall's got a gap now, and before, when Leach was able to pull away a little bit from Blackwell Chambers, bring it down to 6.5 tenths, Leach is now all preoccupied with what's going on behind him rather than in front. This was Blackwell Chambers' view. As Thomas Potter quickly ejects himself from the battle behind him, moves over to the right hand side. Good smart driving from Thomas, so good job from the youngster. What's been distracting is that the fact that Harrison Leach's car is not fully static and present all the time, because you never really know exactly when his car's going to pop back onto the screen. Not necessarily entirely Harrison's fault, the fact that car's stuttering. It could be just an internet connection that's causing him a problem. That's a distraction that Will Blackwell Chambers could very much do without, particularly when he's got to try and get past Harrison again and pick up second place to make it another Clapham North 1-2. I also suspect that, as you can see, Will Chambers has got a little bit of a bigger issue to work with, and that's staring at him when he looks in the rearview mirror, because Jack Ashton's purple, black and white MX-5 is looming large and glued to the bumper, and that's going to help was cause to try and get past Harrison. He was wide on the exit there of the gooseneck, put two wheels onto the grass, but kept his foot in enough, didn't lose momentum. Second, I think Ashton gave Chambers a bit of a friendly pat on the tail to kind of get on with it and push forwards. Leaping over the mountains, they come towards Hall Bends. There's still a second between Kendall and Leach. It visibly looks less than that, but how the nature of Cadwell Park is. To the hairpin. Towards Barn Corner again. Approaching 2/3 distance. We're past halfway. 5.5 minutes to go, plus change in this second race of the night. Ball with Thomas Merritt. This is his view. He grouped. Hasn't fallen back this time after an issue from before. Windscreen wipers on to try and wipe away some of the dust and the grass and bits of rubber being flinged up onto the screen. And that's James Seal with it, who's gone around. We're looking at Adam Lyle, but James Seal's gone around on the exit of the hairpin. Aftermath, they're telling if there was contact or whether he lost it by himself. Quite a slow corner, so I'd imagine that it wasn't by himself. Or was it by himself? It was. So even at slow speeds, punched it into the wall. The car got away from him. And that's another race that's gone down the drain for him, I'm afraid. Adam Lyle, who has got behind Adash Madhu, who again started towards the back after he had issues in the beginning of race one, but up to 13th place, become 14th if Adam Lyle finds a way through. No success at Park Corner, looking back towards Chris Curve. Two Mazdas make their way towards this very tricky right-left section. His car was moving around a little, over the bumps on the approach. Just puts himself into Arash's mirrors. To force a mistake somewhere. Distraction technique doesn't quite work out for him there. But one thing which the internet connection issue for Harrison Leach is also causing is a bit of a confusion on the timing screen, because what you'll see is in second place, but then because his car disappears momentarily, Sim thinks that he's gone, and therefore everyone else has moved up a spot, so that the actual truth is he's always still there. His signal from his connections is a bit inconsistent. And towards Park Corner. And it's making the producer's life a living hell as well, I'm being told in my ear. I don't blame him. sitting there just behind Blackwell Chambers. We'll just see it in the shot. We'll keep looking at Blackwell Chambers, but just keep an eye also behind of the gap that's going on between Jack Ashton and Thomas Merritt. They were almost side by side on the approach to Park Corner. The Metro Cup champion is just about picking up momentum to keep the Fiesta Junior graduate at bay. Two champions nose to tail now. The X5 Super Cup Pro Class champion last year, Blackwell Chambers. Metro Cup champion, Jack Ashton. Leaping over the mountain once again. And this is going to be the toughest part for Blackwell Chambers because he's right, literally sitting on the rear bumper of Harrison Leach, but he tries to make some move, has to do it with confidence up the inside, and that won't have helped. And what I feared might happen has happened. The fact that Harrison Leach's car was being a bit too intermittent on the screen, unfortunately meant that Blackwell Chambers had to go for a move, and because his car disappeared in situ in front of him, physically, reappeared, I think, when the two of them were in a position that wasn't really going to happen. So Blackwell Chambers simply took his move, couldn't make it, and tried to make it stick, but the two cars made contact. If there's anyone at fault of that, we'll leave it to the stewards to decide what happened. So we're going to look at a replay of what has occurred. This is Blackwell Chambers. This is his view looking back. Now, through the hall bends he goes, on the bumper, and Harrison's car basically it disappears on the apex, comes back as he's midway through turning in, and there's contact. Now, I'm not a clerk of the course. If I was Will, my defence would be, well, tries to turn in, but his car disappeared and I could do nothing about that. What he hasn't been able to do anything about also is keeping Jack Ashton at bay, because Jack has managed to make it into second place somewhere off screen whilst we're looking at that replay. So Blackwell Chambers is now embroiled in a fight for second, a three-way battle between the three of them. Now look at Jack Ashton's view. This is what Jack saw. This is the move at the hairpin. There's the contact. There might have been some netcode involved in that as well, because there wasn't full car-to-car contact, so there might have been something that was causing that, and the lag would have played a factor. We're looking at the replay. This is now down the pit straight towards the left-hander. We left it around about here at Copper's Corner and Charlie's. See what happened afterwards. Blackwell Chambers takes the racing line. Ashton gets a good run through Charlie's. Off the Coppice into the first part of Charlie's. Then up Park Straight, gets a really good toe on Will. Moves to the outside line, side by side towards Park Corner. They just moved ever so slightly towards each other. And round the outside, yes, from Jack Ashton. Really lovely move on the Metro Cup champion. Sweeps across and takes second place. And that, you cannot say fairer than that. That is a really lovely move from Jack. Make that one stick. And Blackwell Chambers now finds himself in deja vu, because round the outside for third place comes Thomas Merritt. This time, Blackwell Chambers stands his ground as much as he can, but he might have to capitulate. Or does he? They're still side by side on the approach towards the gooseneck, but the inside line for the next corner, the left-hander, and Merritt has it and has the moves. That's into third position for Tom. Blackwell Chambers just falling backwards a little bit. We're on the final lap of the race because the timer has ticked to 15 minutes. This time by the will take the checkered flag. Remember, the top 10 are reversed. So it will be Benji Douglas at this moment. We're starting on the reverse grid pole position. Leaping over the mountain one final time. As Will falls backwards, Matt Kendall, now unchallenged by almost 3.5 seconds out in front, is again taking another race victory and another step closer to the eSports title in BRSCC. Out of the final corner, up towards the checkered flag, the sprint to a line. Matt Kendall once again is a race winner. He takes race 2 at Cadwell Park in the Clapham North BRSCC Winter Esports Series. It's second. Jack Ashton behind him at the flag from Thomas Merritt in third. Blackwell Chambers has to settle for an off-the-podium finish in P4. Trafford King recovers well to take 5th. Harrison Leach takes 6th after the contact. Then it's across the line as quick as you like. Griffiths, Martin Bradley, Pethick and Douglas are running up the top 10. And at the flag, as Douglas was in P10, that means that he will be inverted, as will the rest of the top 10 in order. That means that it will be Benji Douglas and John Pethick on the front row of the grid, Pethick on pole, and Matt Kendall will start on the 5th row in 10th, alongside Jack Ashton, will be starting from 9th. One or two cars out of position which are coming towards the second flag. One is James Seal after he made the cut. He had the spin exiting the hairpin, and his car's a little over the place. He's got Thomas Potter right alongside him, and Thomas using traction and grip and the line all together on the exit of the mountain. He couldn't defend from that. And managed to keep it going. And the run towards the line, the last couple of cars are coming back towards the flag. This is, we've got Corkwell, we've got Adash Madhu, we've got Aaron Beattie coming to the line as well, as also will be Thomas Potter's taken the flag. We've just got the last 3 cars to come across the line. I think we've also got Rob McGregor, who has a black flag of some kind, but he's coming to the line now. And she's 21st. Madhu in 17th. And Beattie taking P18. And that is the second race complete. And there'll be a 5-minute quick brief warm-up session, which is an intermittent break. Allow the session to be sorted out and the grid to be inverted in the top 10. So as it is happening, as I suspect, as predicted it would, the top 10 is changing around. So as you can see here, that's the results back from 6th downwards. There's the top 5. So Kendall then takes the victory in race number 2 by 3.6 seconds in the end from Ashton in second place. Thomas Merritt is 3rd from Will Blackwood Chambers in 4th, who was in P2 at one point, but then the last couple of laps was passed around the outside, not once but twice. He won't thank me for pointing that one out, from both Jack Ashton and Thomas Merritt, and Blackwood Chambers settling for 4th. For King was a bit further back in 5th position in the final top 5 spot from Harrison Leach and Tom Griffiths. Then Liam Martin Bradley and John Pethick and Benji Douglas, who will start on the reverse grid pole for race 3 coming up shortly. 11th for Mitch Marie, 12th for Ben Williams, 13th for Adam Lyle, Alex Catlow, James Seal, Martin Corkwell, Arish Madhu and Aaron Beattie, completing the top 18. And then from 19th backwards, those who were able to get to the flag or his finish was Thomas Potter and Rob McGregor. Then Alex Corkwell and Jamie Peters-Ellis, who told me a bit of information that he was hit from behind in his incident. So because the reason why he dropped backwards was because of contact. So he is a non-finisher from that race. So that's the championship standings as they came into the weekend. So we haven't got any live updates for the championship. But just a reminder how it looked. Matt Kendall was there at the top. Jeff Richardson in second place. Then it was Trafford King 3rd. Harrison Leach and Isaac Doble, who's not here tonight. Neither was Richardson. 6th was Thomas Merritt coming to the weekend from Thomas Griffiths, Jack Ashton, Chris Etheridge, and Benji Douglas in the top 10. So quite close, in fact, coming to the weekend. It was about 61 points between them, and it's quite close in that sense. So anything could really happen with points if situations occur or drivers have off weekends. Of course, a couple of the drivers that are not here tonight, particularly the likes of Richardson and Doble and Etheridge, are going to be using this as drop scores almost certainly. And the fact they're not here, so they're scoring nothing. There's the rest of the scorers going down to 28th in the end with Aaron Beattie. And a few more drivers that have scored this season. More Blackwood Chambers will, of course, be adding to his tally. He should be able to possibly break him back into the top 10. But he's outscoring quite a few cars around him anyway. Key thing to remember as it goes forward. So, whilst we set for our 3rd race of the event, of course, this being the season in a couple of months' time, and the season will take place at its home circuit, if you like. Well, 2, in fact, are going to happen on the same weekend. You've got the first race of the season first event of the season, which will be at Alton Park the 11th of April, and that's going to be the season opener for the BRSCC North Western Centre, which is set to be live streamed because that will have the opening round of the Fun Cup Endurance Championship, all of rounds of which are typically streamed live. I believe that's the case this year, but they haven't fully confirmed their streaming plans. Yeah, but I believe they typically should be streaming every race. It's also set to include the MG Cockshoot Cup and the Hit for Construction MG Metro Cup as well, which are combining onto one grid this season, which makes a lot of sense given they are 2 series that run cars from the same brand. We're also going to have the first rounds as a championship for the Classic Mini Racing Championship. They took a couple of rounds last year at Brands Hatch and Silverstone with good success. Now they've managed to make it a full championship, and it's only its first full season. And so that will show to be attracting a few of the opposing little original BMC creation. cars going to be, those cars will certainly be put in. As what should also be the ever spectacular modified Ford series, which is excellent series to watch if you're a fan of all things blue oval. It typically gets really good, really impressive, big and good looking grids, and that's something to watch out for. And be sure, if you can make it down there, make it down to Alton Park. It should be available via the Alton Park website. Just go and have a search online for Alton Park, find their content calendar, and then once you see BRSCC, you should be able to find tickets if they're not up already. The other one as well opener is on the same weekend, happening on the other end of the other side of the country, which is in the southeast, and that is at Brands Hatch Indy Circuit in Kent. That'll be the Brands Hatch season opener for BRSCC, of which that's also set to have plenty of action along the way. That includes the Silver Lake C1 Endurance Series, the new, newly formed and created Volkswagen Audi Racing Championship, sponsored by Racing Line. That will feature both the Classic VW Cup and the Audi TT Cup. There's also rounds of the Supersport Endurance Cup. You've got the Fiesta ST150 Challenge, the Fixed Wheel Production Cup, which also features competing within it the Silver Lake DS3 Cup, which is racing for the first time this season as a championship. You also have the Nankang Thai City Car Cup Championship, which involves the Student Motorsport Challenge as well, and the Nankang Thai BMW Super Cup Championship. And if that wasn't all enough, you also have the opening rounds of the Jeff Page Engineering Super Classic Pre-99 Formula 4 Championship. So plenty of action to go. If you want more information on all of what's racing this year for BRSCC, head to their website, brscc.co.uk. It's Real World Motorsport. We now go back to sports action and our final race of the night here at Cadwell Park. And as I mentioned, the top 10 is reversed as a result of what happened in race 2. So Benji Douglas and John Pethick take the front row of the grid from Liam Martin Bradley and Tom Griffiths. Then it's Harrison Leach and Trafford King on the third row from Will Blackwell Chambers and Thomas Merritt. Then Jack Ashton and double race winner Matt Kendall, the championship leader, starting back in 10th as a result. 11th is Mitch Marie, 12th is Ben Williams. Then we have Adam Lyle and Alex Catlow, followed by James Seal and Martin Corkwell. Then Arish Madhu, Aaron Beattie, Toby Campbell, Thomas Potter, Rob McGregor, and then Alex Corkwell and Joe Peters Ennis as the red lights go out. And race number 3 gets underway here at Cadwell Park. Nice clean start from the first few cars. It's slotting into the lead. Already Liam Martin Bradley darting out to try and take second place from John Pethick as the top 4 hold the line, top 5 in fact hold the line, because as you flickering back into view is the intermittent Harrison Leach, thanks to his connection. Griffiths goes around the outside of him, and Trafford King also making a good move. He's up into 4th place, so that's a great start for Trafford. So what was a nosedive at the start of his night is now looking a lot brighter this time. In good form, could be in contention for a podium finish if he plays his cards right over the next 15 minutes. The Park corner, so Douglas leads, Pethick in 2nd place. Then it's Martin Bradley, and chased down by Trafford King, who's right on his rear bumper as they come through Chris Curve. And I don't know if there was contact, but Martin Bradley's off the road. Loses 1, 2, 3, 4, nearly 5 places. Goes wheel to wheel with Thomas Merritt. Holds his line to the second part of the gooseneck and the inside for Mansfield. That then pushes Merritt out wide onto the dusty part of the circuit, and he loses out to another place in front because Jack Ashton's come through. And that, in fact, is Matt Kendall, still stuck back in 10th. So the championship leader and double winner from tonight hasn't moved from his starting spot. Still 10th. Ooh, and Ashton there was very waved off the exit of the mountain over the crest. Now puts Merritt back on his tail as they wind their way through. With the hairpin. And you can see in front, that is Pethick up to 2nd place, and King is, well, King's up to 3rd. He's got past Griffiths, and Harrison Leach has fallen backwards as well. But now Pethick got under big pressure from Trafford King, as the leaders are letting Benji Douglas get away by 1.6 seconds as Trafford King sweeps it around the outside at Coppice, has the inside for the first part of Charlie's, and that is a really classy move. Trafford King, the DH Racing car, up into 2nd place. Now he's got clear air. Now he can start to set off after Benji Douglas out in front. In the group up the hill. Pethick's done with this just yet. Trafford King has that 2nd place. I think wants it back. He might go last of the late breakers down the outside in towards Park Curve. All it's done is given the quite a violent shove open for the likes of Griffiths to get through, and also Harrison Leach. Might be making Pethick a bit nervous given his car's intermittent status on its connection. There's Blackwell Chambers also trying to make a move. So Pethick actually, after his move to try and get back in front of Trafford King, only opened the doors to lose a further 3 places on this lap in the space of as many corners. Towards Mansfield, back towards the mountain. sideways. Just pitches the car in through the first part, climbing up over the hill, the mountain for the second time. Making their way through. Over the crest. Back into the hairpin once again. There goes Douglas. It's King, Griffiths, Leach, Blackwell Chambers. It's Pethick, Ashton, Martin Bradley, Merritt and Kendall, who's still back in P10. He hasn't made much more progress from the cars around him. He's now boxed in because he's got, right on his tail, Mitch Marie giving him a push. He's got the two cars in front causing a blockade. Merritt goes to the outside to try and take it from Liam Martin Bradley. Liam gives him the space. Merritt's over the curb, and again, Kendall hasn't really got an avenue to get through here. Despite taking a slightly earlier apex, clipping the curb, it hasn't really given Kendall the chance to get back through, and he doesn't need to be here. And yes, there are a couple of his championship rivals not here tonight. He cannot afford to be losing too many more points. He has to get past these cars around him, because if he can't, he's losing valuable time. We're already 4 minutes into the race, and he's still exactly where he started in P10. The fight for 8th in front of him is also going to hold each other up. He's got more to worry about in the form of both Ben Williams and Mitch Marie on his tail. So Matt Kendall is right in the middle, quite literally, of this 5-car scrap. He needs to get out of it, past both the cars in front, and start to use the clear track to start to close the gap to the leading group ahead of him. Over the mountain, Martin Bradley hesitated for a second, and Merritt's trying to go down the outside for the first part of the hall bends, but really can only go line astern through this section into the hairpin. And Kendall was sniffing around the bumper of Merritt in towards the hairpin. Thought about a move. Seen the attempt that Blackwell Chambers made. It was a valid attempt. The intermittent nature of the connection for Harrison Leach made things a little more awkward than they really needed to be. Marie in 12th position. Peter Zennis, it looks like, who's had another nightmare first couple of laps, and he's now out of the race and out of it. Marie, you can see his car working away with the wheel. He heads out of Charlie's, and now they approach up the hill. Now, once again, this is not helping Matt Kendall, because Merritt now has found the inside line for Liam Martin Bradley. He now gives Kendall the push up the inside, so Liam will lose 1 place at least. He's going to lose 2. There's a little rub of panels between the two cars as they come up through Chris Curve, and again, Liam loses another spot. That's now 2 spots lost. Is it going to be 3? It might be, because Williams goes 3. He bumps the curb, and it says Liam Martin Bradley off onto the grass. And as Williams exits stage right and reappears again, Mitch Marie was almost sort of bounced into billiard ball style. Almost took all 3 cars out in one fell swoop, but they've all carried on. That's 1 place made up for Kendall at least. The other one, he's got to try and get around Potter if he can. Around Merritt, excuse me. And they're still fighting over. He's now currently P10, and Liam Martin Bradley still has it. And still in front of Marie and Ben Williams after all 3 of them survived that little skirmish. All started, I think we're about to see. Williams looked up the inside. This is what happened. So there was a tiny, tiny rub between Kendall and Liam Martin Bradley. Williams saw the gap and went for it. He then just clipped the curb. He then bounced into the side of Martin Bradley. His car twitched, just held onto it with some overcorrection down the hill over the grass on the approach to Mansfield. That let both Martin Bradley and Mitch Marie back through. And near Martin Bradley's rejoin almost saw him bounce into the side of Mitch's car, but thankfully that didn't happen. With our race leaders, Benji Douglas has a 1-second lead over Harrison Leach now. For King, hasn't been able to make too much more progress, but that Harrison's pulled away and got quite an advantage means he could be on course to take one. His car's still being intermittent thanks to his action. It's battle of the third now. Traffic King is trying to break away from this group of cars, and he's just about starting to manage it now. This is now further back for Will Blackwell Chambers, just behind them with Griffiths and Ashton. And Pethick and Merritt are... Well, Pethick's now back in 8th, just there in the back of the shot. The blue and white machine. And Matt Kendall is still behind Thomas Merritt. He hasn't got into 8th just yet, but he is keeping as close as he dares. come out of the hairpin in towards barn corner again. Just gone past half distance, so approaching that 8 minutes in the race gone. 7 to go. Now down the straight once again. Marie's been given a black and orange flag for a mechanical, so that car's obviously got damage from something that's happened. He's also dropped to 15th place, so I'd imagine that something may have occurred between himself and Liam Martin Bradley. We're going to get a replay, I think, here of what happened. Aftermath of Mitch Marie rejoining the circuit. Minus the front bumper. I think we're trying to find what happened before. That's Mitch trying to control the car and skipping over the grass as a result. Here's what happened previously. Now, again, we just caught the aftermath of that again as well, or as it was happening. Now, Ian Martin Bradley and Ben Williams were either side. One was in front, one was behind. Whether or not he did that by himself, or whether there was contact with one or the other, it was hard to tell from that angle. But that's the end result of Mitch Marie getting back into the mix. And we're looking further back here. So this is what happened. So Mitch was under a threat from Ben Williams. So Williams tried to go through again, and he did. And that looks like... I want to say it was netcode because it looked quite close. The screen didn't visibly show body contact between the two cars, but there was an initial piece of collar rubbing. There was a tap. It was the tiniest of taps. Green looked like it might have been a load. Either way, that's the end result. Mitch is down to in the pits now, getting his car fast repaired. He'll be back out to try at least finish and gain something from this race where he can. This is further back. This is Thomas Potter attacking Toby Campbell. 12th place, and around goes Toby. Thomas has been one of those drivers who's been involved in one or two skirmishes tonight. Toby's also had his fair share of incidents too. Being involved in them rather than causing them. Also Cadwell Park. It was never going to be easy at Cadwell Park. I think we had a smaller field tonight. It certainly helped as less dramatic ordeal as possible here tonight. I say ordeal, it's just a race event. There's Thomas. He got quite wayward and was all over the place going through the Hall bends. Out of the hairpin. And yeah, that was just the rejoin from Toby after he ran wide, and Thomas, he could have backed off or not. That's him giving a bit of an unhelpful rotation of Toby's car out of the hairpin. There's Mitch Marie going back up the inside. And that's him taking... No, that was him still 19th. He was passing on track to unlap himself from Toby Campbell, who is several places back up in 13th. This is another fight for third place. Traffic King has got second place. One driver we have seen drop backwards, though, is Harrison Leach. He's now into P10, as Ben Williams is now off the road as well. Harrison Leach was as high as second, and now he's dropped back down to 10th. So we need to figure out exactly why he's back down in 10th and what's happened. As it is Traffic King up into second place. And Ben Williams' car, which has also suffered some kind of suspension damage, is again fast towing and fast repairing back to the pits as well. Benji Douglas, meanwhile, has been spread eagle in the field here, at least for most of the race, and has had a gap of about 1.4, 1.5 seconds for the last couple of laps. Now, I do suspect that now that Traffic King has managed to work his way out of the group of cars behind him, now headed by Tom Griffiths with Ashton Blackwell Chambers in the mix, to keep the last lap times, Traffic King was half a second quicker than Benji Douglas, so I suspect there's going to be a close down here in the last couple of laps as Ashton goes for third on the inside at Park Corner to relieve Griffiths of the final podium spot. I think Blackwell Chambers quite fancies fourth place too, and if he can give Griffiths a run for his money here, there's every chance. Now these two, of course, Griffiths and Blackwell Chambers, are strangers because they have raced against each other a few times in their X5 Super Cup. No strangers to Mazda MX-5 racing or each other on track. Blackwell Chambers, again, I can see inset his driver camera, eyes front. Gets through once again left and then right through the mountain section. Team of leaders is still 1.1 seconds. It's come down by 3/10 on this lap alone, at least. Chambers little watching us. Thought Ashton throwing the car through the corners. A little off the apex for Ashton. Griffiths and Blackwell Chambers are keeping the pressure up as they come out of barn corner again. And we're going to get 2 more laps. This one. More laps to see if Manchester can hold on to third place from Griffiths and Blackwall Chambers. Also, where the Trafford King can close down an 8/10 of a second gap in 2 laps of the Cadwell Park circuit, or with the Benji Douglas is going to go on and take a victory. And Ashton wide on the exit there of Park Corner. So that will certainly have helped, of Charlie's, that will certainly have helped. You would have thought Griffiths' cause. What it has also done is given Griffiths a bit of a distraction to try and look at, because Blackwall Chambers is now up the inside. He's got track position. Griffiths will try and stand his ground into Park Corner, which he does. Finds himself with 2 wheels over the curb. Blackwall Chambers does pick up 4th place at Griffiths' expense. Free pass for Jack Ashton to continue out in front. And King is trying to close that gap down, but the gap has remained static at 9/10. So I'm not sure it's going to take something for Trafford to close him down. It's going to take a mistake from Douglas out in front. We'll wait and see on this final part of the race pans out. There's now Matt Kendall looking back, who still hasn't got past Thomas Merritt, even though Harrison Leach has dropped down to 14th as a result of everything. So Matt Kendall's been staring at the rear bumper of Thomas Merritt's car for several laps now and unable to make any more inroads. But I do say it's the days you don't win races, or the races that you don't win, that win you the championship. And Kendall's not waiting anymore, looking up the inside in towards Coppice. To sweep across for Charlie's and gets it done. And I think Merritt was wise to that. He wasn't going to try and fight it out too much, because he knew he kept on sticking his nose up the inside too far and towards the first part of Charlie's. It was only going to spell contact and possible disaster for both. He's going to come back in towards Park Corner, gets the run, looks to the outside towards the right-hander. Last of the late breakers again, and Merritt braves it out around the outside. He's not going to give this one up without a fight. When there's contact, and Merritt bounces off the rear corner of Kendall's car. He gets a little slide on, but he holds in the right direction, and looks like he'll be resided to 8th place. I'm not a clerk of the course, but it looked like just very simple side-to-side contact, no malice in it. And he's carried on. Now then, for the lead, this is Benji Douglas with Trafford King all over him now. So the gap was 9/10 of a second. It's now 3/10 to come up to the hall bends for the final time. Only a few corners left. Can Trafford King pressure Benji Douglas into a mistake here with 2 corners to go? Into the hairpin to wider approach. Looks like Douglas has got it under control into barn corner for the final time. Trafford will close in, but it might well be too late. It's a little wayward on the exit. He's going to have track position and the run to the line, and at the checkered flag, it is going to be the first victory in the championship for Benji Douglas. He takes race 12 of the season in the 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter eSports Series. Trafford King closing in really nicely in the end to pick up 2nd place, almost 4/10 back. Jack Ashton 3rd, takes a well-earned podium. Place to all Blackwall Chambers, and that's how baby MX-5s are made. So it's 4th place for Blackwall Chambers, 5th for Tom Griffiths, 6th for John Pethick, Matt Kendall 7th, Thomas Merritt 8th, Liam Martin Bradley 9th, and Thomas Potter rounds up the top 10. And my producer's laughing in my ear from what I just said then. I didn't think that up, that just came up on the fly. 11th place for James Seal, Toby Campbell 12th, and then the rest of the field comes streaming through at the line. As for Harrison Leach, 14th for him, but he was as high as 2nd. I'd love to see if we can at some point. It'll be a few laps back, but he was as high as 2nd, and is finding himself now dropping back to and finishing in 14th, if not 13th, if he can beat Gregor to the line. But the answer is no, he can't. Settle for a spot just inside the top 15. This is Harrison Leach looking. Needs to maybe further back, because he's been quite far back. This is him just on his own in no man's land a little earlier in the race. Whether or not he did have a spin by himself, whether he was helped around, we didn't catch it on the stream, unfortunately. But 14th is 14th, and it doesn't means he can still get some points back if he needs to in the end before the season is done. The finale in a couple of weeks' time at Silverstone. Results will come through. Last couple of cars just going to come to the flag shortly, which are Martin Korpkal and Arash Madhu. We did have, again, 1 or 2 teams did have some issues, but in the end, just about everyone got to the flag. So, taking reverse grid pole, and it's the second time in as many meetings that the reverse grid pole man takes the victory. So Benji Douglas takes the win, and he's first only by just over 0.4 of a second from Trafford King in second place. Then Jack Ashton rounding off the podium in third, from Will Blackwood Chambers fourth, and Tom Griffiths policing the top 5. John Pethick picks up P6 from Matt Kendall in 7th place. Tom Merritt 8th, Liam Martin Bradley 9th, and Thomas Potter rounding out the top 10. Matt Kendall would have loved to have been even higher, given the fact he was starting 10th, and it is quite a tough circuit to overtake. It means that Kendall takes 2 victories and a top 10 finish at least from tonight, heading towards the final rounds at Silverstone in a couple of weeks' time. James Seal was 11th from Toby Campbell in 12th. Harrison Leach was as high as 2nd at one point, but for reasons we don't know, dropped backwards into 13th from Rob McGregor and Martin Corkwell. Arash Madhu, Mitch Marie, and Adam Lyle complete the top 18. And then 19th place backwards, we see Alex Catlow, Ben Williams, Aaron Beattie, Alex Corkwell, and Jamie Peters-Ellis, who had a bit of a tumultuous night tonight, and will hopefully be looking to do better if he can next time at the finale at Silverstone. So, racing is complete for the night. We should have, I think, 1 or 2 drivers who are ready to come in to have a chat, I suspect. Let's have a look who we've got. I think Banjo possibly is Benji Douglas, I would suspect. Matt Kendall's in there as well. This is Jack Ash and a couple of others, so let's bring him in. So we'll bring him, first of all, in to the interview booth for tonight's action at Cadwell Park. The latest race winner in the eSports series, starting from reverse grid pole and holding off a rather rapid Trafford King in the end. Race 3 winner for the first time this season, Benji Douglas. Benji, congratulations. An excellent drive from reverse grid pole. I think it's safe to say that on the last couple of laps, Trafford had you a little bit worried there. Were you worried at all he was going to try and take you, or did you think you had enough pace to get yourself to the line without too many troubles?
Definitely. I mean, throughout the race, I knew he was quicker than me. So at the start, I realised I had to get that gap and then build it. And then obviously he was catching up and then he went off. But I knew when there was like 5 minutes left, he was behind me. I knew he was going to catch up. So I was just stay focused, do these laps as well as I can, try and build that gap. Went down to the final lap. I was like, all right, I've got to nail every corner. Obviously, I made some mistakes. But then I managed to just hold on to that P1 until the checkered flag, which I was so happy about. Because he was definitely quicker than me. But I think I stayed calm and managed to just keep it consistent.
We did that, and it's quite a contrast from how the night started. And ironically, I think of all the cars that you had a bit of a coming together with, it was the man that was right behind you on your rear bumper at the flag in that third race. So it's quite a contrast in how you've managed to work your way up through from the incident on the first lap in race 1 to get the reverse grid pole and then come to the front. It really has been almost a back-to-front night for you to come from the rear of the field in a way all the way through to the front.
Yeah, definitely. I knew in race 2, when I was in P10, I was thinking, well, if I stay here, I'll get reverse pole. So I thought I'll just stay there. Then I knew I was quicker than the people in front, so I thought if I nailed the start, I could maybe get the win. And then when the race went on, I was like, can the checkered flag come? Can the checkered flag come? And then somehow I brought it back into P1. So yeah, it was definitely a track I wasn't expecting to do that, with Cadwell having really annoying off tracks, but it was just, yeah, played out well, I guess.
That's a racing driver, just thinking about the long games, try and get yourself to the front. Of course, that's some good results for you tonight. Moving to the last round in a couple of weeks at Silverstone, in terms of where you kind of been around the top 10 in points. How are you hoping, anticipating that the last round goes out? It's Silverstone Grand Prix, so it's the full Grand Prix circuit. You hoping for more of the same and try and get a couple more results, or do you think there's a chance you can get yourself a little bit higher in the lead pack and get yourself amongst the top 5 by default on pace?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's more room to get higher, because obviously it's the Bathurst sort of hours. So I've had 2 big races that I've had to practice. So for Silverstone, it will just be that race. So because it'll be the last race, and you know I'm not in the championship fight, I think if I can just get the best results I can, so whether that be top 3, top 5, I think that would be a good final weekend for me.
Excellent. A really good recovery, despite what happened on lap 1 of race 1, to come through and take a first win in the series. So congratulations. And I think the livery also spells what you're up to this season as well, of course, because you're not only competing back in Fiesta Juniors, but you've also got yourself one of the coveted spots with the Speedworks Junior program as well. So you're going to be enjoying the benefits of running with the touring car team. So how much are you looking forward to learning from them, developing from them, and representing them on one of the biggest junior championships in the country?
Yeah, it's definitely an honour. I mean, I started racing 2 years ago from the sim, and now I'm here. You know, it's crazy to look back at that. And we've been to the team, and it's honestly been great. So I'm super excited for this year. I want to do the best year I can, and it starts with the sim.
Excellent. Well done. I think you've made some good progress already to get yourself ready for the new season in April. So get yourself ready for Silverstone. Best of luck, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks to see if you can do any more damage and points and take another win. So well done, and we'll see you then.
Thank you. See you.
So that was Benji Douglas, our newest race winner in the series. I think we should also have a chat to the man who got us up a couple of podiums tonight and in the top 5, but wasn't able to get the victory, but still did a good job nonetheless. Let's bring in Jack Ashton, of course, who's always talked and fun to watch, even though he's usually in a front-wheel drive Metro, but now in a rear-wheel drive Mazda MX-5. Jack, congratulations on the results tonight. Of course, a podium in race number 3. You were always up in the leading group, but there were a couple of moments that you had tonight which were quite rough and tumble, quite action-packed, shall we say. How was the night from your point of view?
I thought it was really good. I had probably the best time tonight. I had really good results, 2 podiums and a 4th, I think. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It's a track I really gel at. I didn't really actually practice at all, really, coming up to the lead-up of the event as well, so I'm pretty happy with the performance. But the racing was really good. I didn't really have any issues at all, so faultless, really. I'll take it. Apart from some wins, it would have been nice, but I'll take it.
Yeah, it was certainly good stuff, and you had a lot of the key contenders around you for a lot of the time in that race. And of course, you were in the fight, in particular in this scrap for second and third place. You had Tom Griffiths and Will, and you had John Pettit behind you. Trafford was in front trying to pick up moves. Your sort of battle seemed to be just a case of watch what was happening around you, stay steady, and just pick up where anyone's starting to fall off. Just also seeing here on the screen, we didn't see it on stream, but the moment when Harrison lost it on the exit on the second part of Charlie. So looked like in some cases when you're making moves, you were just literally in the right place at the right time. You made some good overtakes, but at the same time just benefited from those, as they say, losing their head whilst you kept yours.
Yeah, definitely right place, right time. I think it was in a few places. Did definitely have a few good moves, getting past people as well, which I'll take. But I think the whole race was, and all races really, were being very strategic with the 1Xs around here, because you get a good amount of them for the short race that we have, but obviously there's a lot to pick up and you can gain a lot of time from it, so it's trying to be very strategic with that one. And I think it made up for a few places, making a few moves in some areas. So yeah, it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. Definitely would love to come back to this track again.
And of course now the last round coming up is the big one. It's the finale on the biggest circuit we visited all season, which is Silverstone GP. You've got good memories of Silverstone. Of course, it was a couple of years ago you were battling will to well, I remember, on the national circuit with Robbie Kenning when he was on his way to winning the Metro Cup title of a year before you did. And I think it's safe to say, given the form you were on that year, had you done the whole season, I think you'd have been a 2-time champion, given how quickly you managed to get yourself to second in the points. But Silverstone holds good memories for you, so you hoping you're going to get more of the same and a couple of good results to finish off the season pretty strongly?
I mean, I would if we were racing at Silverstone. I'm pretty sure we're racing at Brands, aren't we?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Brands.
Yeah,
so.
It is Brands. I believe it's going to be a little bit moist as well, let's say, which I do favour. So we'll look forward to that. I really am looking forward to that.
Good stuff. Well, fingers crossed the wet works out for you. Of course, again, I've seen you. Well, correct myself. I've seen you at Brands Hatch in quite dominant form in terms of taking quite strong victories, particularly in the Metro Cup, and in quite dominant fashion. So I imagine if the rain's out there as well, and it's a circuit that you enjoy, you should be in good form. So fingers crossed it does work out at Brands Hatch, not Silverstone, and hopefully you can get yourself another good couple of podiums and finish off the season strong. So well done, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just shout out to you guys for the stream. Look forward to watching it later on, and yeah, happy days.
Stuff. Well done, Jack. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'll correct myself. It's Brands Hatch, not Silverstone, because I'm an idiot, but I'm happy to confess that myself. Well, someone who's not an idiot is the man leading the championship, and we'll bring him in, which is 2 victories tonight and still maintain the points lead going towards the finale at Brands Hatch. Is one half of the Clapham North duo, Matt Kendall. So we'll bring Matt in to have a chat with him, which he had to kind of deal with not being as high as he wanted to be in race number 3, but even so, Matt, 2 more very strong victories to keep yourself firmly at the top of the points going towards the final rounds in a couple of weeks. First of all, let's talk about race 3 though. You spent most of it staring at the rear bumper of several cars, not being able to get many higher than where you started, so that must have been frustrating, but also a little bit of acceptance of I finished where I finished, I guess. How was that from your point of view?
Yeah, well, it's Mazda racing, and at a track like this, there's not really much you can do about it. If I'd managed to keep in front of Thomas on lap 1 when everything went haywire, I might have been able to do something about it, but as it is, there's not much point worrying about it. It's much better to finish 7th than go for a Hail Mary and write your car off and not get any points at all, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, for me, a phrase that I've heard many people say is it's the days that you don't win that win you the championship, but of course, whether it's top scores or not. So, the fact you're able to still pick up a good top 10 finish and score points when even others that weren't here tonight is pretty crucial. Particularly as the man who was second in the championship coming into tonight wasn't here tonight either. So that alongside the 2 wins that you took, certainly very strong results. In terms of those victories now going towards the final rounds, it's easy to be confident about the fact that you've got such a lead, but I imagine you're going to treat Brands Hatch just as any other event, and just the results will fall where they are, do the best job you can, and don't think about it too much, I suppose.
Well, ultimately, it doesn't change the way the race is run. And it's the same car, it's the same track it would be if I wasn't racing for a championship. So you just got to go and drive really fast and hope it works out. Ultimately,
I'm sure it will, given the form book. And how good was it also not just to have Will back as well, but of course the 2 of you are the Clapham North pair, as we like to dub you. The fact you got yourself a 1-2 was quite a fun thing. I did suspect in race 1 though that Will, half of him, and we'll ask him in a second as we'll get him in for the final word, I suspect there was part of him that wanted to move on you and put you under pressure like he did, but the other half was probably him playing the team game and thinking if anything happened, it might be negative towards your championship chances. So it looked to me like he was playing a bit more rear gunner than attacking for the lead in that sense. But how was it from your point?
To be fair, I think it was more a case of the tyres were cooking off. So a bit like the Beamers last year around here, but not quite as bad. But if you make a move at any point, even if you get it done, it's part of what happened in race 3. But if you make a move at any point and get it done, you probably won't have the tyres left to keep it anyway, for the most part. So it was a case of the order's going to be set essentially by qualifying, and then you just got to try and hang on to your tyres long enough to survive to the end. I mean, the late braking that you'd have to do to overtake effectively most of the corners means that if you don't make a move lap 2, lap 3, it's basically done because you don't have the tyres under you to make it stick. So yeah, I think it was just a case of follow the leader and hope someone makes a mistake in that race.
I think what would have been also interesting is that if you had made that mistake, the driver up behind you is your teammate, so that would have made it even more interesting, particularly for those interested in that sense. I guess the final word for that, Brands Hatch, I suspect it's a circuit that you quite enjoy, so we talked about the fact you can go there to try and get the result you can, but are you going to be happy that Brands Hatch is the place to end it off, and fingers crossed it gives you the results you need?
Oh, well, it's a great track, so and you can do a bit more overtaking than you can do here, so that'll be nice. Yeah, it's going to be good fun. The storm clouds are brewing as well, so that could be interesting. We'll see how that turns out, but yeah, it's going to be a good fun race.
It'll be quite an intriguing final race at the Heavens Open. I think the weather forecast could potentially be set to do so we'll see if that happens. But well done on the 2 wins and the points for race number 3 to keep things nice and tight at the top. And fingers crossed Brands Hatch is the weekend that we see you get the job done. So fingers crossed, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, looking forward to it, thanks.
Job. So double race winner and still points leader, Matt Kendall. And so that's one half of the Clapham North Joe. Usually given the final word, let's bring him in to have a chat, see how he found tonight on his first night back after being truant, shall we say, from last time at Alton Park. But he's back again. We'll forgive him, so he's the main man looking after things in the background anyway. Will Blackwood Chambers, good to have you back tonight, and that you're still a front runner and still can keep your teammate honest. I was talking to Matt about race number 1 first of all, the fact that you were on his tail, and part of me was thinking that you were attacking him to see if you could take the lead, but another part of me was possibly thinking is leading the championship and he is my teammate, so if I do something and it doesn't come off here, I might pay the price. So just from your point of view, was it playing rear gunner, or was it were you more kind of looking to try and attack but the tyres fell off? What was the standpoint from race 1?
I'll be honest, I didn't really have an opportunity. I would not have given... If there'd been space, I would have gone for it. I was trying to look after the tyres to see if I had a bit of advantage at the end, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, let's be honest, Matt is generally quicker than me. You've seen that throughout the season. So I was quite happy just sort of being there. I would have gone for a gap if it had appeared, but it didn't. So, yeah, it's all good. Really enjoyed the season. It was good fun.
You're plenty in the mix towards the front anyway, always battling for a podium place. And, of course, it's quite a winding, twisty circuit, which you're more than familiar with, having raced here several years in Mazda MX-5s. It's obviously a place where overtaking is at a premium, given it's such a narrow circuit and there are very few spots. But given how close some of the racing was tonight in the front group, it was a case of you take your opportunities where you can, and it was quite unique in the fact that whereas on other circuits, if you make a move, you might just lose one place. But given how tightly packed the leading groups were at one point, on some moves, you open the door and where you might lose one spot, you were losing 3 or 4 in a sequence of corners. So it really was a little bit NASCAR-ish in terms of you had to keep your momentum and your track position, because one small slip up and you were losing more than one place and trying to get your rhythm back.
Yeah, that's the problem. You head down the back straight, someone gets a run on you, you lose one through the first right, you lose another one through the second right, and then you're in the bad position for the gooseneck, so you've got to back out of that one, and you're 3 places down. But no, it was good all round. I think I was able to keep... Generally, I was better than those around me at keeping the tyres in, probably because I was just using the slipstream to catch back up and just underdriving a bit, which I think paid dividends kind of a little bit in race 2 and race 3 more. But yeah, overall really happy. Glad to have the car where it is. Obviously, I'm nowhere in the championship because I missed a whole round due to going and doing a bit of real life racing at all while everybody else was doing the eSports stuff. But yeah, it's been good to get back in and sort of see that I'm still at the front at times.
Of course, outside of the esports sphere, of course, you've been preparing yourself for a new challenge that we've talked about a couple of times already, but of course the season's getting closer. So of course you're swapping an MX-5 now for a Fun Cup car with Rob Boston Racing, and you've now got, from what's being announced already through the last couple of weeks, you've got a serious set of drivers across both cars. So I think I even said it with, like, you've got one of the old MX-5 sparring partners in Tom Roach back on the team as well, of course, amongst the two of you. I think it's safe to say in my predictions, if one of your 2 cars doesn't win a race this season, and it is a very competitive field in Fun Cup as we know, if one of the 2 doesn't win a race, I'll be very surprised. But that, as we know, I think in this championship is very much easier said than done in Fun Cup, as you might find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heck of a series. I'm really looking forward to getting on the grid and sort of meeting everyone and see where we shuffle out. But, you know, I'm fairly confident we've got a driver lineup that can definitely challenge at the front. Rob's putting a fantastic car together. I certainly need some more seat time. Really looking forward to the media day we've got on the 4th. But no, yeah, really looking forward to getting out in the car and sort of seeing where we can come this year. If anybody wants to sponsor that program, please feel free to give me a message. I would love some help along the way.
I'm sure someone can, and there's a small chance that you might even see me there as well, but in a slightly different capacity. But we'll wait and see on that one, but it'd be good to get down there if I'm able to. Either way, good results tonight to get yourself some points at least back towards getting back into the top 10. Of course, final meeting coming up, which is, I'm wrongly labelled for some reason Silverstone, but it is in fact Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch, and I think a little bit tells me also we're expecting a bit of a cloud burst at some point on the weekend as well.
Yes,
I imagine
we will be going for some wet weather racing at Alton Park. They all had such fun. While I was driving the wettest Alton Park I've ever had done in real life, they were having fun in the simulator. And as it has rained every single day so far this year in the UK, I thought, you know, we had to at least carry that into the online world by adding a wet race in race 3 at Brands being wet. Which, you know, it makes it a bit different. You get reverse grid and rain. It's always for a bit of chaos. What could go wrong? It's the final round of the season.
Those watching outside the UK, he doesn't lie. It has rained literally every single day in the UK since the turn of the new year. Even when I came back from France on the 8th of January, it has literally rained at some point every single time I've stepped outside my house. So, and that is almost every single day. So we need some kind of clear weather conditions, so we may as well keep it true to life. I think, why not? We'll give them rain for the final race, which could be quite intriguing given how the championship battle is, and given that Matt, of course, is now in a good position to pick it up, given his results tonight. So we'll see how the Transact develops, but until then, of course, between now and then, is the new day happening? Between now and then? No, it'll be the day after. So I think all being well, as I said, I might well actually see you at the media day, the day before, of course, the eSports stuff, but depending how that all works out. either way, good results tonight, and we'll see how you get on when we go to Brands Hatch in a couple of weeks. So best of luck, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers for that. See you there. Thanks very much. Bye.
So that then wraps up our broadcast, the penultimate broadcast of the season for the 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter Esports Series from a bright and sunny Cadwell Park. And now the championship, of course, moves on to the finale, and it mimics the start of the real world season because it is rather than finishing the season at Silverstone as we have done before, because typically they would start the season in BRSCC Silverstone in March, as they have done the last couple of years. This year they're starting April. As we mentioned, the first event of the season of 2 on that same weekend is happening at Brands Hatch in Kent, but on this time for our finale, we don't do the Indy circuit like they will in real life. We can do the full Grand Prix circuit, and as we've heard, there is the high chance we are going to get some precipitation, some rain, some wet weather, which means it could make the final race of the season a little bit more interesting. As it did at Alton Park, we had Marcus Hesker taking his first win, and these reverse grids do throw up sometimes slightly more unexpected results. Thank you once again to all that's taken part, all of our teams and drivers that are involved in this. Thank you to Apex Racing TV and to our producer Aidan for producing all the cameras tonight. Thank you to all of you for watching. If you haven't done so already, be sure you hit subscribe on both the BRSCC and Apex Racing TV YouTube channels so you can keep up to date with all that's happening on both of those. There's plenty more sim racing broadcasts coming up on the Apex channel, and of course there'll be live streams of Club Racing Action selected events coming up throughout the year on the BRSCC YouTube channel as well. Thanks to Clapham North again as well, George Grant and everyone there for sponsoring the series as well on top of that. And thank you for watching and supporting the series also, and also to iRacing for the platform for providing it as well. We'll see you in a couple of weeks when the championship will conclude at a both wet and dry Brands Hatch. We're anticipating in Kent on the full Grand Prix circuit, and we'll see if points leader Matt Kendall can go all the way and wrap up the title in fine fashion. But until then, from myself, Scott Woodward, from Aidan Howard on production and cameras, and for all of us from a virtual Cadwell Park, thank you for watching. Hit subscribe on both channels. See you in a couple of weeks' time when the final event of the Clapham North BRSCC Winter Esports Series for 2026 wraps up at Brands Hatch. But from Cadwell, thanks for watching, and we'll see who takes the title for 2026. Bye for now.